Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to My Hero Academia 213, Whereabouts of the Soul. Now, if you're wondering where my reviews have been, this should be the Monday. So this is Monday, and I'm reviewing My Hero Academia. And the only reason why it's Monday and I'm reviewing My Hero Academia is because on the Friday or the Saturday, I think it was Saturday when I reviewed One Piece, I realized that my Wi-Fi back at home, and not the apartment I live in the other city. The Wi-Fi was real slow, so I couldn't really upload any videos. Like, it was taking hours to upload videos, whereas usually it takes about 45 minutes. And I was like, okay, this really isn't going to work. So that's why there's been a delay. So tonight, when I release My Hero Academia, I should also release the One Piece video, which I've already edited and everything like that, and where I talk about the Saints possibly getting defeated by the Rams. And then today I know that the Rams did in fact beat the Saints, and we were robbed big time. But let's not talk about that. Now, this chapter called Whereabouts of the Soul was a good chapter, and a chapter that has made Deku way more powerful. So the chapter starts with the continuation of the Hellboy predecessor of One for All talking to Deku, and it turns out he's actually speaking to Deku rather than what I assumed last chapter which was he was just some sort of memory, and he was speaking to someone else from a memory, and Deku was just in between them or something like that. So from this, Deku makes the assumption that these other predecessors are essentially living within One for All, something Hellboy predecessor confirms. And with that, we have the Hellboy predecessor doing the "I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark," and he starts to kind of dissipate, realizing that his time is coming to a close and he only has a little bit of time left to talk to Deku. So he tells Deku that the black stuff he was using in like that Getsuga Tensho kind of thing, and that black rope stuff that was just flinging out everywhere while his quirk was going apeshit, was actually his quirk. It's Hellboy's quirk. So the way he describes this next part felt really wishy-washy, and it left me wanting more of an explanation. But apparently within the flames of One for All, so within the general quirk of One for All and its power accumulation, there is a core where parts of the previous users reside. So vestiges of the previous users reside within this quirk, or at least their quirk factors reside, as well as kind of like their personas and themselves, as kind of like, even though they're dead, their kind of entities live within that core as quirk factors and as kind of themselves, essentially their personalities. So this core has begun to swell and expand because One for All is growing, apparently in response to Deku's desires, which is what I understood from it. For instance, capturing Monoma. So the quirk he was using essentially was called Black Whip, what is described to be a perfect fit for capturing someone, and I assume it's a strengthened rope of some kind, allowing for advanced mobility like Spider-Man and restraining opponents. Now, this sounds very similar to Aizawa's kind of bandage techniques, where he just like whips out his scarf/bandage scarf thing, where he just uses that for either hitting someone or restraining them, any of that stuff, which could mean some future training from Aizawa to Deku in the future. However, Deku needs to be careful because the Black Whip has been strengthened itself by One for All. So it's not only Deku that receives that kind of power accumulation, it's any of these quirks apparently that he has access to. They receive the same strengthening from One for All, and it's a powerful, super powerful kind of result. Hellboy then sums up all of this by saying that Deku must control his emotions and his heart because his power responds accordingly. Now, the caveat to this is if he doesn't control himself and if he wields his power in anger, people will die. That's just the nature of his quirk. He has a super powerful quirk, so he needs to really control his anger and his heart. Hellboy starts to feel a little floaty, realizing that his time is coming to an end with Deku, and with this he tells Deku that he now has 6 different quirks he can manifest due to his predecessors, which is hype as hell, but it really puts Deku in a league of his own. And I know it'll take him a long time, an age, to control all of these quirks and to even find them, because that's kind of what he has to do. But the kid essentially has 8 quirks to himself now. He has the ability to pass on One for All, not really the greatest of quirks. He accumulates power as a result of One for All, so he has One for All, and he has 6 other quirks he can utilize as a result of One for All and that kind of core. So you may be wondering why 6. I assume a lot of you will know, but just for those who don't, All Might never had a quirk. So there's 8 predecessors to Deku. There's 9 total users of One for All, I think, and 8 predecessors to Deku. Now, All Might never had a quirk, so that's 7 people remaining, and Deku already possesses the quirks of the first user of One for All, so that would be the passing on One for All and One for All itself. So with that, Hellboy promises Deku his predecessors are with him and tells him he will be the one to complete the will of One for All. I don't think that's the last of him, and I hope it's not the last of him. I simply think that this was all the time Hellboy had during this particular moment to converse with Deku. I'm hoping once Deku learns to control One for All a little better, he can go within himself and consult his predecessors and stuff like that. So Deku wakes up in Uraraka's arms, noting the fact that she's been injured from holding on to him while he was in this like stupor and while he's going apeshit. And I know they're kids and everything, but they're defo being set up they're set up to be romantically involved with each other in the future or down the line. I mean, like, that much is being made really obvious by Horikoshi. So completely oblivious to the fact that this was an actually dangerous situation, Monoma begins his attack on Deku again. Suddenly both teams spring up in the middle of this facility, and all-out war just breaks out, the situation devolving real quickly. Deku reflects on controlling his heart and his emotions and how One for All should have never hurt anybody around him or those important to him, and then he resumes his fight with Shinso, protecting Uraraka at the same time. So Aizawa, Vlad, and All Might watch from a safe distance, with Aizawa telling All Might to allow the test to continue as things seem to have settled down. And we have Shinso and Deku kind of just staring each other down, with Deku's eyes looking a lot clearer than they were before, and he seems to be ready, and he seems to be happy with where he's at, and hopefully his control of One for All should be better. But yeah, like I said, having 6 quirks on top of the power accumulation and stuff like that, this really puts Deku in a league of his own. He's going to be incredibly powerful, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way in the sense that his rivalry with people like Bakugo and stuff like that seems to be... It'll take a hit because of that. I mean, like, Deku having access to multiple quirks really does make it more difficult for people to stay kind of at the same pace as him. I mean, like, Bakugo is going to be... it's going to be hard for him to keep up with someone like Deku, but you have that saying where I think Deku's going to be kind of like a jack of all trades with his quirk, but a master of none at this point in time, or for a very long time he'll be master of none. But the saying finishes better than a master of one, which is what Bakugo will be. So I don't know, Bakugo is going to be a specialist in his quirk, but it's probably better to be a jack of all trades. I'm not too sure what you guys make of that, especially because Hellboy predecessor told Deku to master all of his quirks as well, so he's not just going to be a jack of all trades by the end of My Hero Academia. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. This should be coming out around about 11 p.m. GMT. And for those of you who do watch the One Punch podcast, that's coming out, we should be recording it on Wednesday, and it should be coming out sometime Thursday, Friday, so stay tuned for that as well. So see you guys in a bit.